Sometimes I get questions sent to our Facebook page about different words or different explanations of some of our messages. And one of these questions recently, which I thought was a very good question, was the question of holiness. A pastor in Africa sent me a message asking me my thoughts on holiness, what it means, and what it means to live a holy life. And, sometimes when we think of a word like holy or holiness, images come to mind of, like Jesus or the apostles with halos over their heads, as if holiness is visible or giving us these very shallow thoughts of what holiness is. And so really, when you get down to it, and when you go to the original definitions from Greek and Hebrew, you see what holiness means. The Greek definition of the word holy, the Greek definition is set apart. Set apart. And similarly, the Hebrew definition of holiness is apartness, set apartness, or separateness. So holiness isn't like, walking around like with some organ music in the background and a halo over your head, without any weakness, without any struggle. It is set apartness. It is being set apart. And this goes back to our general message here of everyday Sabbath, which the word church means the called out ones. Those people who have been called out from the world system. And what have they been called to? They can't just be called out. They have to be called to something. And 2 Corinthians 6:17, it says, "Come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord." Come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord. So holiness meaning to be set apart, to be separate from the world around us, and the word for church meaning the called out ones. These are totally linked. You're called out from the world. Come out from among them. You're being called out from the world system, and be separate. Come out from among them and be separate. Be holy. So what does it mean to be holy? It means to be separate. Holiness is to be the called out ones. If you are called out and you follow, you are separate from the world system. You are, at that point, holy. Church, and I don't even use the word church anymore. The called out ones, the assembling of the believers, to be a part of that. And as we've said, instead of thinking of the assembling of the believers in the church mindset of going to church on Sunday or going to church on Saturday and acting different and dressing different that day than every other day, that is the church way. The biblical way of the assembling of the believers. Every day, every encounter, whether it's in the grocery store or at work or at school or in the neighborhood or with friends or with family, every day, every interaction where two or more are gathered together, that is where he is. And if we live that life, that is when we are separate from the world. And remember, holy means separate. So if you want to pursue a life of holiness, of separation from the world system, listen to the call. He's calling you out from among them. He's calling you. You are the called out ones. He's calling you. That is what we call the word church, which has been horribly distorted. The word church means the called out ones. Not a service on Sunday, not a time, not a place, not a pastor. It is the called out ones. The people who have been called out to be separate from the world system. If we are called out and if we follow that call and we live our life as the assembling of the believers, every interaction, every day, then we are separate. And separate is holy. So we are holy. I hope this helps to understand some of this. Sometimes it's hard. We have to put things aside. We've grown up. We've been told things. We've been told things about church and about religion and about Christianity. But you really have to go back to the words. Because without understanding these words, it's ridiculous. The difference. I mean, if you, for example, this word holy, you look it up in Greek and you look it up in Hebrew, it means the same thing. You look up the word holy in English, it's completely different. Same thing with the word church. You look up the word church in Hebrew or in Greek, it means the same thing. You look it up in modern English, it means a completely different thing. So we have to go back to the biblical language, the words that they said, the words that they wrote. What did those words mean in that language? Not in English, not in French, not in any other language, Chinese, whatever. You have to look at what that word means in that language. Because if you don't, it's just a slippery slope of confusion. And that's what we have in Christianity today. 1 million different denominations all teaching little variations of the same thing, but none of them really know what they're doing. So let's just keep at it. Let's keep working on these words. Any other questions about any other words, and I'll look it up. I'll find the meaning and I'll do another message on it. So thank you for the request, and I hope this helps.